Look at this dude.
Video games. They've been a significant part of popular culture since the early 80s, and in recent years they've come to gross higher annual incomes than the film and TV industries combined. I love video games. I play them almost every day. And whilst I'm working on trying to become a voice actor, I thought it could be fun to review video games that I love. Especially seeing as that's the main part of the voiceover industry that I want to be a part of. Also, there's a serious amount of negative news in the video game industry at the moment, so I thought I might try and bring a bit of positive, fun, nostalgia-based content into the mix. To help you understand what I'm about as a gamer so you know whether this channel would be right for you or not, for my first video before any proper reviews, I thought I could give you a little breakdown of my gaming history, my top 10 favourite games of all time, and the YouTubers that have inspired me to create this channel. My gaming history started in the simpler times of the 90s, with the PlayStation 1, and the Game Boy Color. And I grew up with games like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Croc, FIFA 2000, Mickey's Wild Adventures, Colin McRae Rally, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Super Mario Bros, and the greatest games to grace 90s consoles. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, 2 and 3. With the best of course being Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. The 90s were a formative period of slowly understanding there is a long f***ing way to becoming a competent gamer. As a child who grew up under the age of 10 during the 90s, I was on that weird precipice of not having the internet and having the internet. And in this era of gaming, you didn't have the internet. If I got stuck on a particular part of a game, I was screwed. So you had to rely on things like gamer guides, an older sibling, a friend who was good at the game, or your parents if they were good at the game. So in a time where games really did punish you for making mistakes, it made us 90s babies a little bit stronger and more stubborn when it comes to gaming. Now this soon shifted to what I consider to be the golden age of gaming, at least for millennials, the PlayStation 2. This was my next checkpoint in gaming, and it was probably one of the most joyful and memorable experiences I've ever had in gaming. Pretty much until online multiplayer became more accessible. There's a reason this console is still the best selling of all time. Everyone and their mums had some kind of PS2 experience in the 2000s. The list of phenomenal titles is almost endless. So I can't list every game I played on the PS2, but here's a few of my favourites. GTA 3, GTA Vice City, GTA San Andreas, Total Overdose, Burnout 3, every FIFA game from 2001 to 2014. Need for Speed Most Wanted, The Simpsons Hit and Run, WWE SmackDown vs Raw 2006, FIFA Street 1 and 2, the LEGO Star Wars series, Destroy All Humans, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, Lord of the Rings Return of the King, and of course Bratz Forever Diamonds.
What did he say?
For the record, I never played that last one, I just saw it in that list from earlier. Honestly, it's almost impossible to really do this generation of gaming justice because it was littered with platinum legends, iconic AAAs and cult classics. For example, it featured the GTA series from 3 all the way to San Andreas and all the Stories games in between. But also criminally underrated cheesiness and excellence in gaming like Total Overdose and FIFA Street 1 and 2. The latter being so brilliant is one of the reasons I can't play Volta on modern day FIFA. It's just nothing compared to the FIFA Street series. The series it is absolutely trying to emulate. I can't be the only one with sepia-style memories of booting up FIFA Street on the London pitch with a team of David James, David Beckham, Rio Ferdinand and Wayne Rooney whilst Dizzy Rascal's Stand Up Tall is playing. Whilst gameplay and graphics have undoubtedly improved since, what you got for your money with the PS2 and PS2 games, the modern generation of gaming just can't compete with it. Largely because it was about delivering the best game possible because, well, you couldn't patch it. Laziness or an unfinished game was not an option because it would just sink a developer. And also the PS1 and PS2 deserve major props just for their startup sequences. Also, did anyone else used to gaslight their PS2 into working by just pretending to ignore it while it started up, just hoping that that little PS2 icon would come up at the end? Also, it was in 2023 that I found out that in the startup for the PS2, the towers that you see in the background are directly related to the saves you had on your memory card. So the more towers you have, the more saves you have. The bigger the towers, the bigger the file size. Also worth a small note that during this era of gaming I did venture into the handheld world again with the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Advance SP, the latter of which I actually won playing Bandit Bites over the phone live on Smile on BBC. I also understand that is incredibly niche to UK 90s kids. A classic time in handheld gaming for sure, but when it comes within the PS2 era on the timeline, it just didn't hit as hard for me. Although Lord of the Rings Return of the King on these two was nuts. I mean seriously, Sony really did have a proper grip on the market. The PS2 saw off everything during its time and stayed on top from minute one. The Sega Dreamcast, the Nintendo GameCube, the original Xbox, all attempted to scale a Sony-shaped mountain and all of them failed. It's a dominance from the PS2 that still stands to this day. Next up for me was the Xbox 360.
Comedy.
Aside from getting used to the controller size and shape, the dashboard, and the added element of online gameplay, my transfer to the Xbox was pretty seamless. The sheer quality of games pretty much picked up from where the PS2 left off. Nothing but classics, icons and cult heroes. I'm looking at you, Doritos Crash Course. Oh, it's actually upsetting how much time I put into that game. Oh. And it's still for free on the Microsoft Store. I don't think there are many gamers in the world who didn't experience the sheer joy of co-op Halo, whether they had an Xbox or not. We also got the universally loved and never matched Left 4 Dead series, and the fact that this console was the first of 3 generations to feature GTA 5, a title that I don't think has left the top 10 most played list since it was released in 2012. Not to mention the Xbox 360 also features Skyrim, another game so good they made it 3 times. It is crazy because with the Xbox 360 we witnessed a second generation of console gaming in a row where boundaries were pushed for the betterment of our gaming lives, before the era of gaming companies just desperate to take in our cash on day one release. Also, Jesus Christ, Far Cry 3. The Far Cry franchise will never top Far Cry 3, despite the fact they keep using the same gaming formula for all the sequels. But with that being said about the Xbox 360, Nintendo also had a very loud statement during the 7th generation of consoles, and my family was one of millions that was hooked that Christmas. Hands up if your family was positively rocked by the innovative powerhouse that was the Nintendo Wii.
Take my hand!
The Christmas this came out is up there with the release of Pokemon Go for the last time civilization felt truly happy. My family spent that Christmas exclusively playing Wii Sports and we all loved it. The user interface, the menus, the controllers, the motion controls were all pretty much perfect. It was truly a beautiful time and probably the first family experience in gaming away from a board, cards and dice. And despite the fact it was one of the first to ever really do it, the Wii's motion controls were flawless. It's a feat that hasn't really been matched until VR came along and started to perfect itself more and more. I have a distinct memory of realising I had enough cash to go out and buy Guitar Hero 3 complete with the Les Paul controller, and proceed to spend the next 2 months exclusively jamming out bangers while holding the perfect power stance. Also, who else used to get that really weird visual sensation after playing Guitar Hero 3 for too long, where you look at a wall or a carpet, and it would move the same way the notes would when you were playing the game? Other notable titles that I played during my time with the Wii were Mario Strikers Charge Football, Rayman Raving Rabbids, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, and obviously Mario Kart Wii. Whilst there were other consoles that tried to roll out motion control elements, no one came close to matching the Wii's smoothness, and the amazing way Nintendo created games that brought entire families together. The Wii did have a remarkable shelf life for something that many people would consider a gimmick, ceasing production after 7 years in October 2013. I'm surprised it didn't get a version of GTA 5. This span of creativity from Nintendo also spawned the many versions of the DS, and I had these 2 generations. And whilst they were amazing devices, especially with their touchscreens and stylus, I didn't really spend enough time with the DS outside of brain training and the usual phenomenal Super Mario games. So I don't really feel I can add anything that more loving and consistent players of the DS can give you. I also purchased an N64 during this console generation, purely for nostalgia's sake. To say some of the games on that, like GoldenEye, haven't aged well is an understatement, but me saying that doesn't take anything away from how phenomenal that console actually was. So what was next on my console journey? Well, the Xbox One. GTA 5, Skyrim and Minecraft revamps, the continuation of the Halo, Gears of War and Forza franchises, the revival of the Doom franchise, Sea of Thieves, The Witcher 3, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Shit.
The Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remasters, Gang Beasts,
Better scramble like an egg before you get folded like an omelet.
Ooh, that brother's floating in the air.
South Park The Stick of Truth, Borderlands 3, Mad Max. The inception of Game Pass. This console is responsible for the largest chunk of my gaming history, with the Xbox One getting me through the pandemic like a fucking champion. In my gaming group, we managed to log some crazy hours on games like GTA 5, Apex Legends, Sea of Thieves and Gang Beasts. And it was all thanks to the Xbox One. It also plays host to probably the greatest technological investment I've ever made in my life, Game Pass. Someone at Microsoft was using their whole brain when they developed Game Pass, realising that we love gaming and would pay a subscription fee for near unlimited game access. If I honestly had to choose between Game Pass, my phone contract, my gym membership and my dental plan, I'd choose Game Pass every time. I do also have a unique love for this console and its gaming library because it was my first proper induction to online gaming, and it kept a whole friendship group relatively sane through a very stressful 2 years of the pandemic.
Is that another gunpowder? Let's go!
Also, a lot of the games were special and Game Pass is pure f***ing gold. I also worked quite closely with the Xbox One because for 4.5 years I was a live events technician, and one of our clients was responsible for basically building the Xbox stage at Gamescom in Cologne. So I actually got to work on the Xbox stand for 2 summers. But it was while I was working there in 2016 that another console was introduced to me, and that console would take up quite a lot of my 2017 and 2018. Nintendo really are a bizarre company. They rarely advertise their own consoles, remain committed to producing the best games for gamers, and they push innovation to such a level that they remain part of the zeitgeist years after they cease production. I don't remember seeing an ad for the Switch until about a year after I bought it, and I got it 6 months after it released. Weird. It also feels like Nintendo don't really seem to produce games in the quantity other publishers, developers and console companies do. But then again, when they do, they transcend popular culture and become iconic in ways few other companies can achieve. The only developer I could pinpoint that has that level of an impact on modern culture is Rockstar. Now, so far as I can personally tell, the only iconic game that released with the Switch was Breath of the Wild, which, to be fair, is the perfect title to release with your console. It's a 10 out of 10 game. There was a streak when Nintendo released nothing but top tier titles. Some of these games genuinely left me speechless after playing them, Breath of the Wild being the biggest of those. But Mario Odyssey is also a stellar title that sits very high in my all-time list. But a super mention has to be given to Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I don't think anyone really expected much from this, especially with the lack of popularity that Rabbids had with the Nintendo and Rayman community. Although I loved them from the moment they appeared in Rayman Raving Rabbids on the Wii. But damn! This game just nailed everything it could within the turn-based strategy genre, including its difficulty curve, whilst incorporating a beautiful open-worldish element to move between encounters. Then you've got Mario Kart 8 and Super Mario Party, which are just... they're brilliant because Nintendo just knows how to make god-tier party games. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee managed to jump on the hype of Pokemon Go and bring a classic locale from the original Game Boy games into the modern console era. I never played the original Pokemon games on Game Boy.
He's a madman! A madman!
But I know enough about them to know how they looked and how they would have played for people. And it's such a brilliant modern take that Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu have brought to the table. The ability to link your Pokemon Go account to them as well was pure genius. It was also the only way I managed to get a bloody Lapras on Pokemon Go. And as Nintendo, when you bring in other developers to help you with games and to bring their games to your console, you're just cherry-picking champions, cherry-picking winners, like Untitled Goose Game. I do have a lot of love for the Switch and most of the games that I have for it. The only issue I really have is it's never my go-to console when it comes to chill and unwind. But if there's ever a session at a friend's house or a chilled out party somewhere, the Switch is a game changer. But from the Switch, we move on to the world's most powerful console, the Xbox Series X. Do you ever get that thing with new tech where you use it for a while, then go back to its predecessor and its predecessor just seems ancient? The Series X has done that to me with the Xbox One with its stupidly fast quick start feature. For everything, it's not just games, it's apps like Netflix and Disney as well. I've tried using my Xbox One recently just to use it for things like Disney and Netflix, and I've been frustrated when the apps take about 3 minutes to load in. I don't doubt that there's an element of planned obsolescence here, but even so, if I was to compare them both new, the Series X is just lightning quick. I remember the first time I properly played a game on the Series X with some friends. We were playing Sea of Thieves and 2 of us were on the Series X, one was on PC and one was on the Xbox One. We had a little bit of a load-in race just to test how good the Series X was. From selecting our ship and pressing OK, to being on the dock in Sea of Thieves, the 2 Series X's were milliseconds quicker than the PC, and unfortunately a couple minutes faster than the Xbox One. It was genuinely staggering the amount of processing power this thing had new when compared to other devices. And in reality, for the speedy needs and demand of modern gaming, especially when you're playing games like Hell Let Loose and even things like Fortnite, you really do need that level of processing power to just get that immediacy of modern gaming. But next time you do get frustrated with the speed of your console, just remember that modern consoles have a staggering amount more processing power than even the first space shuttle that went to the moon. I really do love the Series X and it is my current gaming hardware. It's just so much quicker than the Xbox One. But the reality is, unless your Xbox One is starting to fail on you, you don't really need to do the upgrade. As a pure quality of life option, if you can afford it and you have the disposable income to do it, I'd recommend getting a Series X or the smaller version of the Series X. For me, it's just that much better than the Xbox One for speed, reliability and just playing power. So there isn't really that much more to add about it. And that's my story so far with the Xbox Series X. So that's my gaming history, however brief or not that may seem. Don't get me wrong, I am fully aware that I've effectively just reeled a boast monologue about owning a load of consoles and games, but I felt it was important to let you know kind of the context of my gaming knowledge, history and current setup so that you can kind of understand where my reviews will be coming from, and how I'll be making the videos and how I'll be doing my reviews. Any gaming and captures that I do will pretty much be exclusively on the Switch and the Series X just because they have built-in capture capabilities, and it just makes finding and creating content for the videos that's legit and actually me playing a lot easier. I understand as well that I'm in a very privileged position to be able to do this. I have recording setups, I have a microphone, I have the consoles and I have a TV. I'm aware I'm very privileged. So the goal here is very honest. I'm just trying to make entertaining content about video games and gaming, with an added little spice in about voice acting. And if it helps you decide on the next game or games you might want to play by yourself or with friends, then that's wonderful. And with that said, here's the list of my top 10 games of all time. I will most likely review all these games in their own separate videos, but I'm not intending on sticking to the order they are here. So here we go. Forza Horizon 4, Far Cry 3, Sea of Thieves, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remaster, Mad Max, Super Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, and first, Red Dead Redemption 2.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
And that's my top 10. Like I said, I will try to review all 10 of these games in the next 10 videos or so, but in no particular order. I can pretty safely say though that Mad Max will be the first game that I review, so stay tuned for that one, although it may take a few weeks for me to do it. And now a quick shout out to the channels that inspired me to want to make some video game content. UpIsNotJump. UpIsNotJump is a uniquely fascinating channel. So I found their work through my best friend who recommended them during lockdown to try and ease my sanity whilst I was working, and fuck me, did it. The editing style of this channel is fantastic, and the way they review games, especially through VR, is just beautiful, and their comedic chops are perfect. It's obvious that them and their team are really passionate about what they do. They're fiercely intelligent in the realm in which they're exploring and working, and I would love to just be able to emulate a level of the quality that they put into their content. Their production style is great, and the naturally funny way that they produce everything as well is brilliant. They're unique, wonderful, and endlessly rewatchable. Videogamedunkey. The dude's hilarious. He doesn't seem to take any game or gaming scenario too seriously, which is so refreshing. Everything is an opportunity for a laugh or to create enjoyment, whether the audience is meant to know or not. If you want someone to start with his videos, I would strongly recommend his one called Ultimate Skyrim. It's comedy gold, and when you watch it a few times, it will just become endlessly quotable. April Black. April Black is a wonderful YouTuber who specialises in content surrounding The Sims 2 and various bugs, glitches, corruption issues, and solves and fixes for them. Her videos are amazingly edited all round, especially for beginners like me to watch and learn from, right through from sound to video editing, and to be honest, I just love listening to her talk. I have no idea about anything to do with The Sims 2 and its community related discussions, but honestly, her content just makes me want to listen and care. I think my favourite thing about her though is she never has anything bad to say about anyone or anything, which is extremely rare in the online world, especially on YouTube. She always credits the things that people do well and simply offers an extension or alternative view or solution. So please go and check out their channels. I know I'm just some new pleb on YouTube, so my word doesn't really mean much at the moment, but I love their stuff, and I think a lot of you who will like watching me, if you like watching me, will enjoy their things as well, because it's what I'm inspired by. I'll try and link their channels in the descriptions below, if I can figure out how, and that's that. I'll have to take some serious time to make the next video and play through the game as much as I possibly can just to give a really solid and fresh review, because it's been a while since I played some of these and sometimes a refresher is needed. So for all the casual, part-time and hardcore gamers among you, thank you for listening and see you later.